The blood drained from Sarah's face as she stared at the photograph in her trembling hands. There he was, her husband of 12 years, standing beside another woman in a wedding dress, both of them beaming with joy. The timestamp showed it was taken just 3 months ago, while David had told her he was on a business trip to Chicago. If you're enjoying this shocking tale of deception and its aftermath, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more incredible true stories that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about love and trust. Sarah collapsed onto the edge of her bed, her mind racing through every business trip, every late night at the office, every unexplained absence. How could she have been so blind? David Thompson, successful investment banker and devoted father to their 2 children, had been living a double life just 40 miles away in another suburb of Boston. But what Sarah didn't know yet was that David's secret went far deeper than bigamy, a truth so shocking it would forever change not just her life, but the lives of everyone who thought they knew him. David had always been charming. That's what drew Sarah to him when they met at Boston University 15 years ago. His confident smile, the way he listened intently when she spoke about her dreams of becoming an architect, how he remembered every detail about her likes and dislikes. Their courtship had been a whirlwind, and within a year, they were married in a small ceremony in Cape Cod, surrounded by friends and family who celebrated what seemed like a perfect match. Life with David had been comfortable, if not always exciting. He provided well for their family, and Sarah had been able to establish her own architectural firm while raising their children, Emma and Jack, now 10 and 8. There were occasional arguments about his long hours and frequent business trips, but Sarah had always trusted him implicitly. That trust now lay shattered at her feet like broken glass, each piece reflecting back a different lie. The photograph had arrived in an unmarked envelope earlier that morning. No note, no explanation, just the damning evidence of her husband's betrayal. Sarah's first instinct had been to call David, to scream and demand answers, but something held her back. A cold, calculating voice in her head told her to wait, to gather more information before confronting him. If he had managed to hide an entire second marriage, what else might he be hiding? With shaking hands, Sarah opened her laptop and began searching. It didn't take long to find her, Jessica Thompson, née Miller, a pediatric nurse at Massachusetts General Hospital. According to her social media profiles, she and David had met at a charity gala 2 years ago. There were photos of them hiking in the White Mountains, attending Red Sox games, and renovating what appeared to be a Victorian home in Lexington. A life parallel to the one David shared with Sarah in Brookline, just a short drive away. Sarah felt physically ill as she scrolled through the evidence of David's other life. How had he managed it? The logistics alone seemed impossible. Then she noticed something odd. In all of Jessica's posts about their relationship, David was only ever referred to as Daniel. Sarah's heart pounded as she dug deeper, finding a LinkedIn profile for Daniel Thompson, investment consultant, with David's photograph but a slightly different professional history than the one she knew. 2 names. 2 wives. 2 lives. But why? The question haunted Sarah as she picked up her children from school that afternoon, maintaining a facade of normalcy while her world crumbled around her. She watched Emma and Jack chattering about their day, their innocent faces so trusting, so unaware that their father had betrayed them all. How would she tell them? Should she tell them? The weight of these questions pressed down on her like a physical force. That night, after putting the children to bed, Sarah sat in the dark kitchen waiting for David to return from what he had claimed was a 3-day conference in New York. According to Jessica's recent Instagram post, Daniel was at the same conference. At least that part wasn't a lie. Sarah had considered packing up the children and leaving, but something kept her rooted to that kitchen chair. She needed answers. The sound of David's key in the lock at 11:30 p.m. sent a jolt through her body. She remained still as he entered, setting down his briefcase and loosening his tie before noticing her sitting in the shadows. "Sarah? Why are you sitting in the dark?" His voice was casual, concerned even, the voice of a loving husband returning home to his wife. Sarah switched on the lamp beside her, illuminating the photograph she had placed on the kitchen table. "Who is Jessica, David? Or should I call you Daniel?" The color drained from David's face as his eyes fixed on the photograph. For a moment, he seemed unable to speak, his mouth opening and closing without sound. Then, to Sarah's surprise, his shoulders slumped and he sank into the chair across from her. "I've been waiting for this day," he said quietly. "Part of me has been dreading it, but another part has been hoping for it." "Hoping?" Sarah's voice cracked with disbelief. "You've been hoping I'd discover you're a bigamist?" David, or Daniel, shook his head slowly. "It's more complicated than that, Sarah. Much more complicated." What followed was a confession so extraordinary that Sarah found herself questioning her own sanity as she listened. David Thompson wasn't just living a double life, he was in witness protection, and had been for the past 20 years. His real name was Michael Reeves, a former accountant for the Callahan crime family in Chicago. When he discovered evidence of their money laundering operation and turned it over to the FBI, he became the key witness in a case that sent 3 high-ranking family members to prison. The Callahans had put a price on his head, and the U.S. Marshals had given him a new identity, David Thompson. "I lived as David for 5 years before I met you," he explained, his voice hollow. "I thought it was safe. The main players were in prison, and I was told the heat had died down. I fell in love with you, Sarah. That was real. All of it was real." "And Jessica?" Sarah's voice was ice. David's face contorted with what looked like genuine pain. 3 years ago, I received a warning from my handler. Someone from the Callahan organization had been released and was asking questions about me. They thought my cover might be compromised. "So you created another identity? Another family?" Sarah couldn't keep the disgust from her voice. "No. God, no. Daniel Thompson was my backup identity, created by the Marshals when I first entered the program. I was instructed to slowly transition to that identity, to create distance from David Thompson in case they were closing in. The marriage to Jessica." He paused, swallowing hard. "It wasn't real. She's an agent." Sarah stared at him, unable to process what she was hearing. "An agent? You expect me to believe your second wife is some kind of undercover marshal?" "She's FBI, assigned to my case when the threats resurfaced. The wedding was staged as part of my cover. There are photos, social media posts, a paper trail, all created to make Daniel Thompson's life look legitimate while they investigated the threat. It's not a real marriage, Sarah. There's no relationship. It's all for show." Sarah wanted to laugh at the absurdity of it all, but the deadly serious expression on David's face stopped her. "If this is true, why didn't you tell me? Why let me believe you were just working late or on business trips when you were, playing house with an FBI agent?" "I wasn't allowed to tell you. That's the first rule of witness protection, no one can know, not even family. Especially when there's an active threat. They thought if you knew, you might inadvertently say or do something that could put us all in danger. I wanted to tell you so many times, Sarah. The lying has been killing me." Sarah's mind reeled as she tried to reconcile the man she had loved for 15 years with this stranger sitting across from her. "So everything about you is a lie? Your parents in Seattle? Your childhood in Portland? Your college years?" Michael, shook his head. "Not everything. I've told you as much truth as I could within the boundaries of my cover. My parents are really dead, just not the way I told you. I did go to college, just not where I said. And everything between us, my love for you, for Emma and Jack, that's all real. You have to believe that." Sarah stood up abruptly, needing distance from him. "I don't know what to believe anymore. If what you're saying is true, our entire family has been living under threat. Our children have been in danger because of your past, and you never thought I deserved to know that?" "I was trying to protect you," David pleaded. The less you knew, the safer you were. And the marshals have been watching our family the entire time. There are agents who live on our street, who work at the children's school. You've never been unprotected. The revelation that their neighbors, people Sarah had barbecued with and exchanged Christmas cards with for years, might be federal agents watching over them was almost too much to bear. She felt violated, manipulated, as if her entire life had been a stage play with her as the only unwitting actor. "I need you to leave," she said finally, her voice surprisingly steady. "I can't look at you right now. I need time to think." "Sarah, please." "No. If what you're saying is true, then you've lied to me for our entire relationship. If it's not true, then you're a bigamist and a pathological liar. Either way, I need you gone tonight." David looked as though he might argue, but instead, he nodded slowly. "I understand. But Sarah, if I leave, you need to contact this number." He wrote down a phone number on a piece of paper. "It's my handler. If I'm not here, they need to know to increase security on you and the kids." The casual way he confirmed that their family was under surveillance sent a chill through Sarah. "Just go, David. Or Michael. Or whoever you are." After he left, Sarah sat alone in the kitchen until dawn, the phone number clutched in her hand. Part of her wanted to dismiss everything he had said as an elaborate lie to cover his infidelity. But another part, the part that had loved and trusted this man for 15 years, sensed the truth in his confession. The question now was what to do with that truth. The next morning, after getting the children off to school with a forced smile and reassurances that Daddy had left early for work, Sarah called the number. A woman answered on the first ring. "Mrs. Thompson. We've been expecting your call." The voice was professional, detached, and somehow familiar. With a jolt, Sarah realized she recognized it, Mrs. Abernathy, the school librarian who had always taken a special interest in Emma and Jack. "Is it true?" Sarah asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "All of it?" "I'm sending a car for you, Mrs. Thompson. We have a lot to discuss, and it's not safe to do so over the phone." 20 minutes later, Sarah found herself in the back of a black SUV with tinted windows, being driven to what appeared to be an ordinary office building in downtown Boston. She was escorted to a conference room where 3 people waited. A stern-looking man in his 50s introduced as Marshal Director Collins, a younger man who identified himself only as Agent Reyes, and, to Sarah's shock, Jessica Miller. Seeing her husband's other wife in person sent a surge of conflicting emotions through Sarah. Jessica was younger than her, maybe early 30s, with short dark hair and an athletic build. She didn't look like a homewrecker, she looked like exactly what David had claimed, a federal agent. "Mrs. Thompson," Director Collins began, "I understand this is an extremely difficult situation for you. I want to confirm that everything your husband told you last night is true. Michael Reeves has been in the witness security program for 20 years following his testimony against the Callahan crime family. His cooperation resulted in the conviction of several high-ranking members of one of the most dangerous criminal enterprises in the Midwest." Sarah looked at Jessica, who met her gaze steadily. "And the marriage?" "A cover operation," Jessica confirmed, her voice professional but not unkind. "I was assigned to pose as Daniel Thompson's wife when we received intelligence that Anthony Callahan, the son of the family patriarch, was actively searching for the witness who had put his father away. We needed to create distance between Michael's life as David Thompson and his new identity while we investigated the threat." "So you're not really married?" Sarah needed to hear it explicitly. "No, ma'am. The ceremony was staged, the documentation is classified as part of an ongoing federal investigation, and there is no personal relationship between us. I'm married to another agent stationed in Washington." Sarah felt a wave of relief wash over her, followed immediately by a new surge of anger. "Why wasn't I told? These people threatened my family, my children, and I was kept in the dark." Director Collins leaned forward. "Mrs. Thompson, the primary protocol in witness protection is compartmentalization of information. The fewer people who know the truth, the safer everyone is. Your husband was following strict instructions designed to protect you and your children. By lying to me for 15 years? By shielding you from information that could put you in danger, Agent Reyes interjected. If you had known and inadvertently revealed something, a slip of the tongue, a reaction to seeing someone suspicious, it could have confirmed Michael's identity to anyone watching. Sarah tried to process this explanation, but her mind kept returning to one crucial question. Is my family in danger now? The three agents exchanged glances before Director Collins answered. Anthony Callahan was arrested last week in connection with an attempted hit on a protected witness, your husband. We believe the immediate threat has been neutralized, but the Callahan organization is extensive. We can't guarantee there won't be others who might take up the cause. So what happens now? Sarah asked, suddenly feeling very tired. That depends partly on you, Jessica said. Michael, David, has been offered a new identity and relocation. The question is whether you and your children will go with him. The implication hit Sarah like a physical blow. Leave everything behind, her business, her friends, her children's school and activities, to start over somewhere new with a husband she now realized she had never fully known. Or stay and try to rebuild a life without him, always looking over her shoulder, wondering if her children were safe. I need to talk to my husband, she said finally. They arranged for David to meet her at a safe house outside the city, a nondescript colonial with security features Sarah would never have noticed if they hadn't been pointed out to her: reinforced doors, bulletproof windows disguised as energy-efficient upgrades, surveillance cameras hidden in birdhouses and landscape lighting. David was waiting in the living room when she arrived, looking as though he hadn't slept. When he saw her, he stood but didn't approach, uncertain of his welcome. They told you everything? He asked. Sarah nodded. I met Jessica. She seems professional. A ghost of a smile crossed David's face. She's good at her job. She's kept me alive this past year. Why didn't you fight harder to tell me the truth? The question had been burning in Sarah's mind since her meeting with the federal agents. You let me believe you were working late or traveling when you were setting up this whole other life. You could have found a way. David's expression crumpled. I tried, Sarah. God knows I tried. I went to my handler 3 years ago when the threats resurfaced and begged to bring you into the loop. They refused. Said it would put everyone at risk. When they came up with the Daniel Thompson operation, I fought it every step of the way. But they made it clear, either I cooperated with their plan, or they would move all of us, you, me, the kids, to new separate identities. I couldn't bear the thought of losing you completely. So instead you led a double life and hoped I'd never find out? Sarah couldn't keep the bitterness from her voice. No. I knew you'd find out eventually. The Daniel operation was only supposed to last until they caught Anthony Callahan. It was always temporary. I was going to tell you everything once it was safe, once there was no more need for Daniel Thompson to exist. And if I hadn't found that photograph? If Anthony Callahan hadn't been caught? How long would you have continued the charade? David looked down at his hands. I don't know. I've asked myself that question every day. The longer it went on, the harder it became to imagine telling you. I was terrified of losing you, of you hating me for the lies. I don't hate you, Sarah said after a long pause. I'm angry and hurt and confused, but I don't hate you. I'm trying to understand an impossible situation. Hope flickered in David's eyes. Does that mean there's a chance for us? They've offered me, us, a fresh start. A new place, new identities if we want them. Or we can stay as David and Sarah Thompson now that the immediate threat is gone. Either way, no more lies. No more secrets. Sarah thought about their children, about the life they had built together. Despite everything, she couldn't deny that David had been a loving husband and father. The foundation of their relationship had been built on a lie, but the family they had created together was real. "I don't know if I can trust you again," she admitted. "But I'm willing to try, for Emma and Jack's sake. And maybe for ours too. But things have to change. No more secrets, ever. I need to know everything about who you really are."